Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Force of Will Starter Deck Spotlight featuring Rezzard, the Undead Lord. Now to the north, deep in the caverns of the jagged mountains, on the border of the Dead Sea, you'll find Nifflheim, the land of the zombies, vampires, ghosts, and goblins. And this is where you'll find our Undead Lord. Now the Darkness deck focuses on using the Chant Standby area and the graveyard to summon multiple monsters as well as cast different spells. Now this is a very unique deck and a very technical deck, but first let's get to the unboxing. Now let's get to the Darkness deck. You get one copy of Rezzard, the Undead Lord. His judgment costs 2 Darkness Will to activate, and by paying 2 Darkness Will, you can put 2 cards from your main deck into your graveyard. Upon J activating, Rezzard becomes Rezzard, the Desecrating Vampire. When he enters the field, you can put 2 cards from your hand into the Chant Standby area. Then, this card gains plus 200 for each card in your Chant Standby area. His God's Art, for 6 will, you can remove any number of Resonators in your graveyard from the game. For each card removed this way, each player banishes a Resonator and discards a card from their hand. Next, we get 4 copies of Persephone, the Nether Empress. She is one of 3 Resonators in this deck with a stealth ability. This means by paying any 2 will, you can place her in the Chant Standby area to be summoned later. To be summoned at no cost, your J-Ruler has to be Rezzard the Undead Lord or Rezzard the Desecrating Vampire, and you have to have at least 10 or more cards in your graveyard. When she enters the field from the Chant Standby area, you can target a Resonator with a total cost of 4 or less from your graveyard and put it into the field. The second Resonator in this deck with a stealth ability is the Underground Dragger. Again, by paying any 2 will, you can place him in the Chant Standby area. Then, to summon him at no cost, you have to have controlled a Darkness Magic Stone, and a Resonator was put into a graveyard from your field this turn. Then, when he enters the field from the Chant Standby area, destroy a target Resonator your opponent controls that dealt damage this turn. Lastly, we get 4 copies of the mass-produced Giant Landmine. This is the last Resonator in this deck with stealth. To play this at no cost, your J-Ruler or Resonator you control has to have been attacked. When this card enters the field from the Chant Standby area, deal 1000 damage to a target attacking J-Ruler or Resonator. This is really great for making defensive plays, keeping Rezzard on the field. Next, we get 4 copies of the Prowler of Nifflheim. He is a 1-cost zombie Resonator, and when he enters the field, you put 2 cards from the top of your deck into your graveyard. This is a great card for fueling your Rezzard's God Arts ability. Another card that helps Rezzard's God Arts ability is the Solace Soldier. He is a 2-cost Resonator zombie, and when he enters the field, you put the top 2 cards of your main deck into the graveyard. He combos really well with the addition field, putting him at an 8/7. Next, we get 4 copies of Jeanne d'Arc, Shadow Princess of Purity. She is a 1-cost Resonator, and whenever a Resonator is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, rest a target Resonator your opponent controls. This is great for slowing down your opponent's plays in the early to middle game. Next, we get 4 copies of Dark Purge. This is a 2-cost spell that targets a J-Ruler or Resonator. They gain -600 until the end of the turn. This card is really great for weakening up stronger Resonators or even killing some Resonators, because when a Resonator's defense drops below 0, they are immediately banished. Next, we get 4 copies of Endless Night. This is a 3-cost spell that destroys a target Resonator your opponent controls. Then, all Resonators on the field gain -200 until the end of the turn. This is great for weakening your opponent's Resonators that have filled the board, as well as comboing off with a field edition in this deck. Next, we have 4 copies of Nifflheim, the Realm of the Dead. This is a 2-cost field edition that gives all your zombies you control plus 200 plus 200 and combos really well with the previous spell. Then, by banishing this card, you can put the top 5 cards of your main deck into your graveyard. This is great for fueling your Rezzard plays. Next, you get 4 copies of the Regalia, Death Scythe, the Life Reaper. Your opponent's J-Ruler loses and cannot gain Imperishable and Swiftness. Then, by resting this, your J-Ruler gains plus 200 until the end of the turn. Then, as long as your J-Ruler is Rezzard, the Desecrating Vampire, it gains whenever a Resonator that was dealt damage by this card is put into a graveyard, put it into your field instead. Also, Rezzard's God Arts ability costs 1 less to play. Finally, by removing 3 cards from your graveyard, you can put this card from your graveyard into your hand. This is a great way to refresh this card. Lastly, the deck comes with 10 Darkness Magic Stones. Now, if you want to see this deck in action, click a link in the description below or check out the annotations.